Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am not here with Geeky Sparkles in this video. I'm going to talk about The Last of Us because the trailer for The Last of Us Season 2, the TV show on HBO, has just dropped. And we're going to talk about that a little bit because it's so weird. They did not go with super buff Abby in the TV version. They actually went with an actress who weirdly looks more like Ellie. A lot of people have been pointing that out. Than the actress they actually hired to play Ellie in the show. But we're going to talk about The Last of Us Part 3. They're saying that there's not going to be one. Most likely, there will not be a Last of Us Part 3. So I have to wonder if they're not just going to pivot to television and be like, yeah, we're going to tell this story. We're going to tell it through TV or movies, and that seems to be what I think Druckmann wants anyway. I don't get the vibe he actually wants to be a video game designer. I think he wants to be in television. He wants to be in movies. So we'll talk about this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. If you are missing notifications, you want to get notified of our videos, go out to clownfishtv.substack.com, sign up for notifications. Every time we post a video, you'll get an email telling you there's a new video to watch. So thank you for that. So yeah, let's we're going to talk about the trailer here in a minute, but let's talk about where The Last of Us series is right now. Of course, the first game is a classic. A lot of people consider it probably one of the best games of all time, or at least of the recent generations. And then part 2 was hotly anticipated until we started to get glimpses of what the game was going to entail, and especially the character of Abby. She looked very, very buff, and how they treated Joel. You can go look up spoilers about that. But yeah, they're saying they're going to deviate, I guess, in the series, which makes sense. It's a TV show versus a game. But now they're saying there's not going to be a part 3. Probably not going to happen. So this is coming from Push Square. This was a couple of days ago. I didn't cover it because I honestly don't care that much about this game series anymore. Like, the first one was really good. Second one was a lot of drama. A lot of people not happy with the second one. And now they're saying, yeah, we're just not going to do a third one, most likely. Don't bet on The Last of Us Part 3, warns Neil Druckmann. Naughty Dog head Neil Druckmann has warned in a new interview, you should not expect a Last of Us Part 3 to be a surefire bet that actually gets made in the future. Despite the open-ended conclusion of the second one, his claim there's probably one more chapter to the story, and his claim that there's probably one more chapter to the story, Druckmann suggests there aren't any guarantees around a third game. It all comes down to sales. And The Last of Us Part 2 actually did okay. It didn't do as good as the first one, I guess, but it did all right. And you have to realize the development cycles for these things are, how many freaking years now. But with AAA gaming imploding, they might not be doing it. I don't know. The comment comes from a new interview with Variety discussing the second season of the TV show. Toward the end of the piece, Druckmann is asked about The Last of Us 3. He responds, I was waiting for this question. I guess the only thing I would say is don't bet on there being more of The Last of Us. This could be it. Druckmann's latest quote somewhat goes against what he said at the ending of Naughty Dog's documentary for The Last of Us 2, which took a deep dive into the development of the sequel. At the time, he explained he had been unable to find a concept for a third game, but recently that's changed. The concept he had was as exciting as the first one, as exciting as the second one. It's his own thing. It has this through line for all three. So it does feel like there's probably one more chapter to the story. But again, it comes down to money, right? Will he be given $200, $300, $400 million or whatever ungodly amount of money it's going to cost to develop the game, and then be given, 5 to 8 years to do it? And will anyone care by the time it comes out? Or could you just film that story as part of the HBO series or do a follow-up series or something? And I think they're probably looking at some options here. Since the documentary aired, Naughty Dog announced its PS5 title Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet. It was assumed The Last of Us 3 wouldn't be the developer's next project after the second game in 2020. And during that time span, The Last of Us multiplayer was canceled. Yeah, that was kind of a huge thing, right? They canceled that game. At the time of its scrapping, Naughty Dog said it had more than one ambitious brand new single player game. Yes, I don't know what's going to happen. So the sales, I've been trying to look into this because, we get mixed messages, right? If you listen to far left activist gamer types who tend to be journalists, right? They are like, oh my God, guys, The Last of Us was like the best selling thing ever. And if you listen to right wing commentators, they're like, no, it was a huge disaster. I went out to NeoGAF, and this was December of 2023. They said The Last of Us Part 2 sold 10 million copies in total. By comparison, The Last of Us Remaster, the first game, sold 18 million units, 8 million more than Part 2. The upcoming remaster of Part 2 can help bridge this gap to some extent. This data comes from the latest Insomniac leaks, confirming the sales figures for various PlayStation games, including Bloodborne's total sales. So the report states that PlayStation sold 18 million units of The Last of Us Remastered. So almost twice as many people bought the remaster of the first game than bought the second game. That says a lot right there, right? This is a major difference that only becomes larger when counting the 8 million sales of the original PS3 version. Yeah, remember, The Last of Us came out for PS3. Not a lot of people had the PS3 compared to other consoles. So, yeah, first game sold 26 million units in total, but Sony has yet to provide figures for the sequel beyond 10 million sales. While the data from the leaks might be a few months old, it shows a massive difference. Yeah, so these are the top 30 best-selling PlayStation published games of all time. Since not all the sales are up to date, we'll have to look at the list here. So, Last of Us Part 2 is number 13. This is of all time. So that's. I mean, it was a huge deal when it came out for a variety of reasons. But I don't know if that's what they're looking for. If that number was underwhelming, I have no idea. Ghost of Tsushima, director's cut included, was just a little bit under that, and that game was not pushed, I don't think, as hard as The Last of Us Part 2. Yeah, so I'm looking at some of these other games here, and some of these going back to like PS1, Crash Bandicoot 2, 7.5 million units. Most of these are PS4 era. Gran Turismo 3, 14 million units. The original Last of Us for PS3, 8.4 million. And again, PS3 not incredibly popular. This person says one game is significantly more expensive than the other, and one game has been on the market for longer. See you in a month when the PS5 version releases. Yeah, this is back in 2023. I don't know how it sold, but that could factor into it. So here is what's going on. The trailer dropped. You can go check out the trailer for yourself. I'm not going to run it. I might go look at the comments though, but I'm not going to run it in this video. And there was a story a couple days ago in Variety, Making the Last of Us Season 2, casting Abby, video game changes and why the creators are at peace with telling a different version of the story. Are they going to change Joel's arc? I mean, obviously, the girl playing Abby is not super buff either. You know, a lot of people thought Abby was potentially trans. That was going around for a while, but that is not the case. We're talking about how The Last of Us Part 2 is one of the best games ever made when it debuted in 2020. It was provocative, and it caused a cascade of online fan fury that still percolates. Actually, I think most people have forgotten about it. That's why I haven't been following this super close, because I think most people forgot about it. On top of all that, Part 2 is such a colossal experience, taking almost twice as long to complete as Part 1. Adapting it would necessitate telling the story over multiple seasons. So that's what apparently they're going to do. They talked about some of the changes. They said that more or less the story will be intact. So it's only when we bring up the character of Abby that they have any apprehension about changes they made between the game and the show. The character is much more muscular in Part 2 than the actress is in Season 2, with the violence markedly cut down from the game. The showrunners say the need for Abby to be so imposing wasn't as critical. Again, she looks more like Ellie than the they-them playing Ellie. More importantly, Druckmann says Caitlin Dever wanted to work with us. We wanted to work with her. It's not worth passing it up to continue a search that might never bear fruit to find someone that matches the physicality. The Could have gotten Gina Carano. she could get all swole for Abby. I don't think she'd want to be involved in it. No matter who the showrunners cast as Abby, they were bound to spark controversy. Character's stacked physique and brutal story arc placed her at the center of a torrent of online vitriol when hackers leaked hours of footage from part 2 in April of 2020. They scrambled through COVID isolation to make the game's June release happen. They were inundated with anti-Semitism, misogyny, homophobia, and death threats to themselves and their families. That's never okay. You shouldn't do that. The voice actress got threatened too, if I remember correctly. I asked Druckmann how he managed to get through it. Not very well at the time. I get hyper fixated on stuff, and when I'm alone, I have time to think, and worse, I have time to browse. That's when it gets the most dangerous. I'm starting to doubt myself. What if I did ruin The Last of Us? What if I did make a piece of shit? Oh my God. What if I made shit? No, it's the gamers that are wrong. Couldn't possibly be me. Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. But he's saying, yeah, don't bet on a third one. The trailer's out there. Abby's not buff, and it is what it is. What do you guys think of the show? A lot of people seem to like the show. Let me know. I'm gonna wrap it up, guys. And yeah, it's been a very slow news weekend. So hopefully tomorrow we'll have better videos for you than this one. I'm a little late to the party. Because I just don't care. This is such a 2020 thing, right? I think they're trying to like drum up interest in it. Last of Us 3, who cares? Who really cares about that? Gonna wrap it up. Please subscribe. We'll talk later.